Oh, it is working. I did not realize. There we go. There we go. Okay. Hey, we're live. Let me see if I can fix this angle here. What is good, Evan? Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through on the interwebs okay? All right, so this is a jump-in show. If anyone could let me know if the audio and everything is working, that would be great. Thanks, Evan. Perfect. So we'll be doing a jump-in show. I got this idea from Lamar. I was on his show last week, and I thought it was a great idea. And I wanted to try it out myself when I saw like a lot of my friends were asking questions and things like that. And the goal of this is really to just do an hour, 2 hour live stream where we have people come in, ask questions, see, if they have any stories to share. We'll talk about crypto concepts, anything else like that. To join in, if you all you have to do is turn your phone to the side. First, you have to be watching on a phone. Turn your phone to the side, and in the comments, like right near the comment button, there should be a little green arrow to request to join. Go ahead and hit that, and it'll send me a little request letting me know that you want to join. So if you're on here and you want to come on and talk about whatever, just turn your phone to the side. First, you got to be watching on a phone, and request to join, and we'll have you on. We can talk about anything crypto, whatever you like, or just share your stories, ask questions. If you have any crypto questions whatsoever, let me know. What is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? What is Ripple? Actually, that's I think written on my wall. I got a random. I get asked that like twice a day. What is Ripple? So again, if you got any questions, you want to hop in. This is a jump-in show. Again, I got this idea from Lamar. Thank you, Lamar, for doing this amazing thing last week. All you got to do to request to jump in. There we go. We got a request. Approve. Hey, Evan. Let's see if we can get Evan added. Adding Evan.
Hello?
Hey, Evan. You're upside down.
Oh, jeez. How about now?
There you go. Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
Hopefully
you
everything.
Sorry?
Oh, my headphones aren't even needed because that's how that works. How you doing, Evan?
Yeah. Oh, pretty good. I was just wondering, can you give me your take on Ripple?
I swear to God, that's the 10th time? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What is my take on Ripple? All right. So
Yeah.
Ripple's an interesting story for anyone that's been around in the crypto space for longer than like 2 years, right? Ripple was like the first corporation to go crypto, which is kind of an interesting thing. Because back when we had Bitcoin and we had Litecoin and all these other cryptocurrencies popping up, Ripple was the first one that wasn't an open source kind of project. It was like a privatized corporation. They built out this tech, and the idea was very corporate and stuff like that. And they got a huge amount of backlash on that. The backlash being that they held on to like a huge portion of Ripple. I think more than half of the Ripple, and they ICO'd I think like a quarter of it, and they got a huge backlash. Nowadays ICOs are a normal thing, but before like the ERC-20 stuff, ICOs were very frowned upon. That was just not a thing you did, and if you tried to do that, oh my lord, you better be prepared for some hurt. So that kind of darkened my perspective on Ripple, but then they had some administrative changes. From what I have read, their tech looks good, right? So, but they're trying to be the bank-to-bank transfer, right? So the reason they're going up in value and things like that is because banks, they can get those banks partnership because banks like working with corporations more than they like working with open source projects, which good or bad, not my place to say. I'm trying to see if I can get the lighting here. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Ripple, Evan?
Well, I knew it was a popular cryptocurrency with the banks because it wanted to be like the transfer medium. But outside of that, I really didn't know much about it, and I just kind of got in on a whim. I haven't really had much time to read on it. But I heard Amazon was thinking about picking up or partnering with Ripple. But I
So
think that
every
was
time I
very,
hear any kind of sentence that begins with, so I heard blank was thinking about cryptocurrency,
yeah, I
any
think that's
given
insane.
cryptocurrency, my red flags start shooting up because the one thing we've learned from like the blockchain Twitter sphere is that all of these cryptocurrencies will just pump out rumors like nobody's business, right? They'll
Yeah.
pump out rumors
Well,
because that drives the
all,
price up.
it's all for pumping.
Yeah.
So literally someone can just go say whatever they want, and then the price will go up, whatever for the day traders.
Yeah, we know that Omi's Go did that. Neo did that. Um, I'm very skeptical, especially when we hear things like about Amazon, who have usually shown very anti-blockchain views, anti-cryptocurrency views. Um, but
Hmm.
that being said, a lot of bigger corporations are pro Ripple because Ripple is
Hmm.
also a corporation, right? That is a
Yeah.
centralized medium of
So
exchange. One
is
other
that
quick thing about Ripple, actually, this is kind of very interesting to know. Ripple is selling off 1 billion, I think either 1 billion Ripple or $1 billion worth of Ripple every month. Like that's like a thing that they have to liquidate
Mhm.
that market, which is kind of insane when you think about it. That this company worth 100 billion now market cap wise, which is just all this money is ridiculous. Um, is selling 1 billion every month, and yet the price doesn't just tank. Um,
Mhm.
and so, why is it in that way, or what's happening there? Um, those are some interesting things to think about.
Mhm. Yeah, is there something special? Well, you said that Ripple is it's not decentralized. It's pretty much sponsored by a bank. Um, so what separates it from being just, digital money? Do they need a blockchain in that case?
So the blockchain. So this is a kind of a bigger question, right? This isn't really about Ripple as much as it is about um, as much as it is about blockchains and privatized blockchains in general, which is uh, sorry, which is more of a question on like things like quorum. Yeah. Oh, I did not realize, John. My bad. I didn't. So on my screen, the camera was perfect. This entire time, I've been sideways from most people. Sorry about that.
Yeah, actually,
I
I have to go tutor, so I have to leave.
Okay.
But let me know next time you're gonna do this, and I'll hop in.
There we go. Okay, this seems to be working, right? This is a fine angle. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. So that was kind of a weird thing. All right. See ya, Evan. We'll get
Yeah,
Kelvin or
talk
John
to you
in
later.
here. Perfect. Let's see who else is coming in. John, come join us. Adding John.
Hey
Hey,
Dev,
John.
how you doing? Yeah, doing
How you
well.
doing?
Yeah, just
Thank you
found
for
your.
Oh, that's there we go.
Yeah,
Thank you for letting me know about the camera. I didn't
yeah,
realize
yeah.
that was a thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, on my laptop it was like the wrong way, and also on my phone. But now it's holding my phone, and yeah, it's vertical, so it's
Yeah.
good. But yeah,
All right.
here.
What do you want to talk about, John?
Well, I'll just finish up the Ripple conversation. I think the market cap of Ripple is it's more than all the market cap of any of the prospective um, clients or partners that they might bring on. I'm not sure. I could look up like Western Union market cap, but I know it's not large. And then MoneyGram was like barely sold for $1 billion, and that didn't even go through. I don't think so. It's kind of crazy how much
The
Ripple's
current
worth.
market cap of Ripple is 122 billion US dollars.
Yeah, then
122 billion.
let's look up Western Union's market cap. Yeah, I mean, if I think Western Union has a fiduciary duty to its shareholders to make their own protocol. Yeah, the market cap of Western Union is 10 billion. So it's kind of crazy that something that you're supposed to be in and out of to do a transfer is worth so much. So
But like Ripple kind of serves itself as it says it's more than just like a Western Union clone. For what it's worth, I've looked at enough presentations from them that I genuinely believe they have decent tech behind it, right? They use some kind of messaging protocol, that kind of gossiping protocol, to make those transfers fast. And it is based on a distributed ledger technology. It's using quorum voting, all that kind of stuff. There is a little bit more behind it than Western Union. But is it worth $122 billion US? I don't know about that one.
The messaging protocol is separate from the XRP token. So, I mean, you don't have to have the XRP token to use it. And you have to imagine that, hey, why wouldn't Swift make a two-way messaging protocol? So, they're working on it.
Swift is actually, I think, Ripple's biggest competitor, not Western Union. Swift is usually what they're fighting for.
Yeah, the banks don't want to trust another financial institution, especially if they just printed off another, 100 million coins. JP Morgan's going to make their own coin.
Which, by the way, for those of you guys that don't know what Swift is the international system that banks use to wire money around. So like when you're sending international wires and all things like that, that's what banks use. Which, fun fact about that, so international wires cost banks about 45 cents. But they charge the end customer around $45 to $100. So that is their markup there. But Swift is what they use for international transfers.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the Swift it's just a messaging. They don't even use that to transfer. They don't use Swift to transfer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people get that confused. They think that Swift actually transfers the money, but it's actually just like requests saying, hey, we have something going through. Can you say
when banks talk?
Yeah, it's just like a bank messaging protocol. It doesn't send money. So it's kind of crazy with that. But I mean, I've done a lot in the B2B payment space, especially international, working with CoinPip. So yeah, we use blockchain on the back end.
Really quickly, for those of you that just joining us, this is a jump-in show. So right now we're talking about Ripple, and how Ripple works with international bank transfers and is a market cap and things like that. If you would like to join in, all you have to do, first you have to be watching on a phone. Second, turn the phone on its side, and near the comments section, there's a little green icon that says request to join. You can hop in here, ask questions, have a little conversation with us about blockchain or anything else. How you got into crypto, crypto communism, or anything else that you want.
Yeah.
John, are you into crypto communism? Is that a thing that you subscribe to?
I don't know. Tell me more about it. Haven't heard much about it, honestly. So
maybe we'll wait for Dean to wake up to talk about crypto communism, or when we get Kelvin on. It's a very big topic of conversation between myself and some of my more crypto anarchist friends.
Okay.
Right? They're all very libertarian or communist or socialist or very in that extreme way, and they think cryptocurrency is like the bastion of that. So maybe we can have that conversation going a little bit later.
So wait, is there anarcho-communist? Is there anarcho-communist?
I guess. I mean, blockchain brings out the best kind of hypocrites, right?
Yeah.
Anarcho.
I don't know. Yeah. There's definitely conflicting.
The network controls everything.
Yeah, conflicting ideologies here. So.
Yeah. But you said you wanted to talk about like airdrops and stuff like that.
Yeah. I see Amir's here. We were talking about it in Singapore. Kind of want to move away from the whole ICO thing. So, there's people or companies that are, valuing, and in the summer it was kind of crazy, like 100 million or they were selling 100 million at like over a $200 million valuation pre-product. I mean, that's unheard of. And yeah, you can't be selling like most of your shares. It just, huge risk for investors, especially like at those evaluations. And we're just going to see more and more things coming down in the space. And like what happens when those products don't work out? I mean, they have enough money to pivot 5 times, but are they going to return that to the people holding the token or the I mean, it's so far down the line that sometimes the token is actually worth less than the amount of funds that the project holds. So
Yeah, it's really just a matter of like playing hot potato with debt, right? The initial investors buy it and they sell the hot potato to someone else and they keep bouncing it around. And I don't want to be the poor sack at the end of the line holding that hot potato.
I mean, but no, that is almost like a, like a dollar. It's like it is a debt. So that debt, I mean, the company could have more assets than their debt. So if they fail, they could just repay all the investors, and the investors actually make a profit from the company failing because the coin's worthless, but the company actually has money.
But the initial ETH that they didn't cash out appreciates so much that they can pay back their investors.
No, I'm talking like the ether they raise. Yeah. So not
the
coins.
ETH.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Whatever they
Yeah.
raise. So, I think that's fun. So I just want to see like more airdrops happening. Like if something's actually worth something, then let the market determine how much it's worth. You don't have to put people at risk. And you can like slowly sell as you need money. And if things don't work out, then you aren't putting more people at risk. You just, exit the project.
But speaking of but airdrops bring up two big problems, right? So one big problem with airdrops is, well, how are these companies going to raise that capital initially? Because that's the whole point of the ICO.
Yeah.
And secondly,
but people
do you have consent for the airdrop?
Consent.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but for the first.
Yeah.
point,
So like for example.
Wait, what was your first question? Like, what was the first question again?
How are they going to get that capital that they're using for ICO if they just airdrop?
Yeah, I mean, most of the ICOs, they're getting their money pre-sale anyway. So it's not even from the ICO. I mean...
so just don't do an ICO, just do a pre-sale is what you're saying.
I mean, a smaller pre-sale, but, you want to have community. I think that's big, like, Bitcoin. How are you going to get community? Like, what is, like, the objectives of a token? They want community. They want people to be aware. So when you airdrop something, you get awareness because people are like, hey, I want my free money. Then they bug the exchanges. Then the exchanges list them. So then it's like a win-win. So they're getting more market penetration. People are happy because they didn't lose any money. They're actually getting, free tokens. And you only give people a little bit of tokens for free. So that's why those pre-sale backers, they were like, okay, actually, this is a great idea. They're going to give away a little, just to get interest. But those people are going to be, spending money, the pre-sale investors who are accredited, who could take that risk. They'll be like, okay, yeah, I think this is worth it. So.
I think one of the best ways that was actually done was through the Civic token sale, right? Civic did a huge airdrop, or not an airdrop, but they did a limited sale to many parties. So they capped the amount you could buy at $500 US, so they could sell it to as many people as as could get their hands on.
Yeah.
So my other problem with airdrops is the second thing, which is consent. And I was just checking my Ethereum address the other day, and apparently it has like 2,900 of some crypto token that was airdropped to it. Mm-hmm. And as much as I appreciate the free $3 that it's worth or whatever, I didn't give consent for my Ethereum address to be used in that way. I know that I can't, but isn't it just good manners to not do that?
What?
To not give me your whatever token unless I ask for it. Like when you're doing an airdrop, instead of just sending it to random addresses.
It's not like it's you're walking through campus and getting paper flyers you don't want. I mean, someone just like put money in your wallet. You don't have to say yes or no. I mean,
I don't want their money. I don't want my address to have any of it. I guess now I have to go and go to their contract and then send it to some burner address. But I don't know, man. It just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, I don't want their money unless I ask for it.
If you're, you could have a contract address where you just refund unwhitelisted addresses.
That's probably what I would just set up a burner contract.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and not accept any money.
Yeah.
We do have some comments here. Alec would ask me about. Before Alec, Adela asked, "Good manners? Are you kidding? Most of the transactions take place without any kind of decent contractual relationship protocol." That is actually absolutely correct. Most of the ICO transactions are just they just kind of shove things down your throat. Can we talk about Tron for a hot second? Actually, that just popped into my head. Can we talk about Tron? John, do you know what's happening with Tron?
I'm not really familiar with it, so I don't want to comment on it. So yeah. I mean, I don't know what they do that it's worth so much, but yeah, I mean, if you want to tell me, go ahead.
Tron, I think, is one of the best examples of just terrible, terrible manners. And everything bad. So they copied their white paper from like IPFS and Filecoin, right? They just literally copy pasted most of their white paper from those, and there was apparently an organized pump and dump for Tron. So right now, there's a reason it went up like 400% or something.
Yeah, I think anything that goes up like too fast, too quick, and I don't even know if it's like these pump groups are going from like coin to coin, but yeah, I just saw like Jeremy, he just posted on Twitter. He's like, I invested in like 3 or 6 he invested in 6 ICOs 3 months ago, and they're all up 1,000%. I mean, if you think about the traditional stock market, 10% a year, so it's like 100 years in the traditional stock market in 3 months.
Yeah.
Come on.
For those of you that are just joining us, I just saw a bunch of little names pop up. This is a jump-in show, so in a moment I'll be letting John go, and anyone else can jump in, talk about any crypto topic they want, ask any questions, talk about any projects that excite them, any kind of philosophy discussion around cryptocurrencies, blockchain, what have you. All you have to do, take your phone. You got to be watching on a phone. Turn it sideways. And near that comment line, there will be a little green icon that says request to join. I think I got one joiner.
You can
It randomly paused. John, you were saying something?
Yeah, you could. I'm holding it vertically. So my phone.
Oh, and it worked for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. I was just on Lamar's last week, and it was like apparently it has to be horizontal.
Yeah.
But if it works vertically, it works vertically. There's a little request to join on the bottom, and feel free to do that, and we'll get you in. Thanks, John.
All right, peace, man.
See ya. Let's see who else is waiting. If you have any comments, feel free to throw them in the chat as well. I'll be going over that. We'll be talking about things. I think we're adding Kelvin now. Kelvin, where are you? Okay, well, there we go. There's Kelvin. How are you doing, Kelvin?
There we go.
Fantastic. So, Kelvin, we've been talking about Ripple, then we talked about Tron, we talked about a couple other projects. What do you want to talk about?
Plasma. Let's talk about plasma.
All right, for everyone watching, do you want to go over what plasma is? Actually, really quickly, I just want to go over again.
Yeah.
This is a jump-in show for everyone that just joined us. If you want to be like Kelvin, hop in and talk about your favorite crypto projects, ask any questions. Feel free to put them in the comments or click request to join. All right, Kelvin, tell us about plasma.
All right, so plasma is basically one of, well, I guess Vitalik and Joseph Poon's scaling mechanisms, more of like a scaling framework. The idea is basically scale something like Ethereum or any blockchain by, hey RC, by putting blockchains inside of blockchains. That's kind of the overall like blockchainception. It's not really like a project in itself. It's not a, I mean, people are building out like implementations of Plasma, and I know a few big companies are doing that now. But the point is...
Actually, really quickly, Michael Lee just asked a very relevant question. Is 2018 finally going to be the year of the dApps? Do you think Ethereum is still going to be the preferred network given its scalability issue? So, Michael, what we're talking about right now, Plasma, is a protocol improvement that was proposed by Joseph Yoon. I think I'm saying that, or Joseph Yoon. I don't know how to say his last name. And Vitalik. Joseph is the founder of the Lightning Network. Vitalik is one of the co-founders of Ethereum, which addresses exactly that, the scalability concerns around Ethereum. Ethereum right now is doing, I think, 1.2 million transactions a day. Probably like 30% of those are CryptoKitties. But apart from that, it's still doing 1.2 million transactions a day, which I think is more transactions than like the next 10 cryptocurrencies combined, including Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But so how do we scale from there?
So it's not exactly a protocol extension on top of Ethereum. The idea is that this is all implemented as smart contracts on top of Ethereum. From like a super high level, the idea is it's sort of a blockchain, except that you don't put all of the state updates into the blockchain. You just put sort of these, basically it's kind of like just putting the block headers into the chain. So that doesn't help you in the sense that you can't prove state, right? So everyone can agree that that was the hash, or that was the block header of the current state, and everyone is acknowledging that they have that block, so they agree with the state. And if they think that that state's invalid, you can submit a fraud proof, basically saying, oh, that block's invalid, and you can invalidate it. So it's very hard to commit fraud, but it's very easy to recognize it and basically slash. You have to put up bonds against this stuff, and you slash those bonds when you find fraud. And then the other idea is basically there's two possible attacks on there. You have fraudulent blocks, or you have block withholding. So people say someone posted a block to the blockchain, but I can't see it. There's a data availability issue. I don't know what's happening. I can't see the transactions that people are making. And so that there's an exit mechanism. So you can exit out of these chains very easily. And it means you can have these huge scalable chains where the absolute worst case is that your funds get locked up for a little bit and then you exit. And so you actually have all of the guarantees of a blockchain, except you don't need to run a million blockchains. You just need to run one core root blockchain, and everything else trees off of that.
So isn't that a lot like basically Lightning payment channels built on top of the Ethereum blockchain? Isn't Plasma a version of those Lightning payment channels?
I mean, that's the overall idea. So it uses a lot of the sort of constructions of Lightning channels. So it uses this like assert challenge construction where I'm asserting that we have some state, and unless somebody challenges it, then whatever. How long is a little bit that your funds would be locked up for? So that's an implementation thing. You decide there's some period where you have a very long withdrawal period. It depends. There's a lot of sort of math that goes behind, how do we confirm that everyone is exiting? Whatever. Point is, it's arbitrary. You decide how long that period is.
But the overall idea for those of you watching, and I saw a couple more people jump in, so I'll reiterate, this is a jump-in show. So if you're interested in asking any crypto questions or showing up like Kelvin is and talking about your favorite crypto projects or anything else like that, go ahead and request to join. There should be a little button down there, a little green button that says request to join, and hop in and ask your questions. But what Kelvin's talking about is Plasma. Plasma is what would be the best way to put it? If it's not a protocol improvement.
It's
scalability.
It's like a framework. That's what they call it.
Scalability framework for Ethereum. So Ethereum right now is doing 1.2 million transactions a day, which is insane. But how do we go to the next level? Plasma proposes, for those of you that are just joining us, basically a way to do payment channels. If you know what Lightning Network is on the Bitcoin world, basically a way to do that on Ethereum with smart contracts. So you have, and then I feel like Kopi is going to come downstairs and slap me when I say this, chain on chains.
Yeah, but that's what it is. That's what it is. You have a blockchain inside of a blockchain. And because, so each individual state update is just, submitting one block. You don't have to submit every single state update to the root chain. You have really, really low transaction costs. And because you can actually bubble those up, so you can make trees on trees on trees, you have very few updates to the main state, or to the main root, the root chain. Yeah, chains on chains. That's
All right,
what it is.
wait. Let's take a break and let's talk about the chain on chain story, because I want everyone to understand how ridiculous that notion is and why I'm so angry that came out of my mouth. Do you want to tell the story, Kelvin?
You can tell the story. I'll let you tell the story.
So this story happens back in February. We're in Atlanta. We're in Atlanta. It's Kelvin, myself, and my roommate Daniel. And we are at a hackathon, a blockchain hackathon in Atlanta. And we're building one of our projects, Stockyard. And Kelvin here, wonderful human being, just puts his headphones on, starts working. Daniel and I, not so wonderful human beings, spend, I think, 6 hours discussing the impracticalities of what Daniel wants to implement called chain on chains. And I just laugh him out of the room every time. And I'm like, chain on chains isn't the real thing. You don't really do that. That's just not a thing that happens. Things like that. And so after giving him literally, I think, 2-3 days of like pure shit on that, I am the one saying the words chain on chains. So that is just a ridiculous concept. Not really something that would be implemented, but Plasma, basically lightning channels and payment channels are what we were talking about. Samira, if you have no idea what's going on, ask questions. Let's ask. So we're talking about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, etc. This is a jump-in show. So if you want to come in after Kelvin and ask the basics questions, because we've been talking about very technical stuff so far. So if you want to bring us back to the basics, ask what is Bitcoin. I'd love to have you guys. All you have to do is click that request to join button on the bottom, and I'll see your request, and you can come in after Kelvin to talk about whatever you want. Ask questions. But yeah.
So one of the other benefits of Plasma, really quickly, is that you can use it for a lot more than just payments. One of the main things that they propose is doing basically turning Plasma into a whole MapReduce framework. So you can distribute work all over a bunch of child chains, and then have, so that's your map, and then you have a reduce coming back towards you with all the information. So you can actually do really, really heavy duty computation on chain, except it's not fast. But you can do that computation, and that's really important. And you can do it cheaply in comparison to how, in here, they're like, you can handle the entire world's every financial transaction on like a single set of trees or a single set of chains. And then, so someone asked a question about how blockchain, or how it's different from parallel blockchains. I assume by parallel blockchains, you mean like merge mining, like Namecoin or something like that. It's similar. It lets you do the same thing, so you can have your own consensus mechanism, whatever. They actually mention it in here. Basically, the difference is that I don't have to worry about your chain. I don't have to worry about, first of all, I only have to worry about what I'm looking at. So I can have a whole tree of chains and only validate the pieces that actually affect me. And that's, or Cosmos. They even talk about Cosmos. Where do they talk about Cosmos?
Cosmos, Polkadot, they're all systems like this.
Yeah, so the thing they talk about here in Cosmos is assuming 2/3 of honest validators, 2/3 majority honest validators. Okay. They basically say it's similar, except Plasma is reliant on fraud proofs to enforce state and child chains. The idea behind Plasma is that it's a very, very loose concept, and you can build a whole bunch of different things. You can build a whole bunch of Plasma chains to do literally whatever you want.
Really quickly, because we have another person who's requesting to join in. We'll be talking more about Plasma in the future. So the idea is to do these kind of live streams kind of frequently, maybe once or twice a month, and we'll be doing a much more in-depth deep dive into Plasma and how it works a little bit later. For those of you that are just joining us, this is a jump-in show. We're basically taking any cryptocurrency topic in the world that you want to have questions on, talk about, etc. All you have to do is request to join. All right, Kelvin, I'm going to bring on the next person. Thanks for talking about Plasma, dude. And we'll have a much more deep dive with Kelvin and Plasma in the near future. So if you got all those questions.
Let me plug something really quickly. If you're in the cryptocurrency space, this book is important to you. You should read this book.
It's backward. You want to read out the title to us?
The Master Switch. And the Master Switch is about it's about the telephone, it's about the internet, and it's about how decentralized services become centralized. And if you're in the cryptocurrency space, you should read this and you should take careful notes, because all of this is like foreseeing the future, especially with this whole Ripple thing. So read it. Do it.
All right. Thanks, Kelvin. All right, let's see who else we got on here. Alexander, come on in. Let's bring you on. While Alexander is joining, this is a jump-in show. What that means is we're taking anyone that wants to talk about crypto projects, wants to ask any questions as basic as what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain, to all those technical questions like Kelvin was talking about. Anything else like that, please feel free to request to join or ask them in the comments and we'll address them here. Hey, Alexander, what's going on?
What's good? Yeah, no, that Kelvin's my boy right there. The whole reason I saw this pop up on Facebook is because I know him.
Do you also go to Case Western?
No, I'm a Portland State University student, although I haven't been in school for quite a while. So talking about reducing transaction costs, I overheard at a bar that the equivalent cost of a single Bitcoin transaction is something like $40. I'm not sure how that number was brought up, but that's what I heard. Obviously, that's too high for these sorts of currencies to be practical for everyday transactions. So what's the driving force behind adoption, right? You have cost to use the service. The lower you bring that cost down, the more likely it is that a particular currency is going to get adopted by some kind of user base. And you have well, what user base is it trying to serve? Who are the people that are actually being helped by a particular protocol, right? You have currencies like what's it called, Monrovia, Monero, where the goal is to make it as clandestine as possible, right?
It's a privacy coin, yeah.
Because the people making those transactions are a substantial portion of them are trying to evade taxes or create illegal transactions that they don't want attached to their real life identity. So that's
well, so I don't necessarily think they're illegal transactions, right? Privacy transactions aren't necessarily illegal. There's a lot of reasons that you might
that's true, but there's a huge utility in if you're trying to evade taxes or creating a paper trail for feds, then it's any transaction that's anonymous has utility for anyone who incurs a financial or other risk by stepping into a particular business, right? So that's.
But so let's tackle your questions one at a time. So you have two basic questions. One is about, or one of the topics is about this kind of transaction cost, which is that $40 or whatever cost for Bitcoin transactions, and then the purpose of privacy coins and things like that.
Well, not just practical, but specifically what makes what makes a particular currency get adopted and what makes a currency get lost in the all the fucking meme coins out there.
Right. All right. So let's go over the transaction costs first, just really quickly, so we get that out of the way. So Bitcoin transaction costs, yes, are incredibly high. That's not necessarily due to the fact that Bitcoin transaction costs change that much, because the cost in Bitcoin will be, whatever, 0.001 Bitcoin. It's that the value of Bitcoin went up. Secondly, the worst thing about Bitcoin transaction costs isn't even the fact that it's like $40, $50 per transaction. It's that because,
It's the time.
It's the time.
Yeah.
And that happens because so many transactions are being submitted into the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's not scalable right now, right? And that's why people are jumping to things like Litecoin or Ethereum or whatever other cryptocurrency you use for those faster transaction times. Now, let's take that second idea, which is what is the use case of different coins? So Bitcoin, for example, was meant originally to be a consumer, transfer of value, but clearly that can't be the case now. But we can still see it as a store of value. For example, gold is not very portable, right? Gold isn't a very useful thing for us to transact in day to day, but it is a good store of value. And that way we can say that Bitcoin's purpose right now, it has kind of evolved due to its price rise and transactions and so on, to be more of a store of value than anything else. In terms of what new coins bring to the market, a lot of them aren't necessarily about moving money around, right? Bitcoin, the original idea and the purpose was to move money around. But things like Ethereum, they're to power smart contracts, right? They all have very different, unique use cases that aren't just about financial transactions, but actually move into something more. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. But so you still have this. This is the thing that I'm trying to look through. So there's all of these schemes with different advantages and disadvantages based on what that particular cryptocurrency was designed to do, or the cool idea that someone brought to the table. It's like, I should implement this right away. But in terms of actually being useful for people, I would imagine a bigger factor is, well, what institutions or what groups of people are actually adopting these things. Like talking about smart contracts, it would be awesome if, for example, like I'm an IT guy, if every time that my client causes a violation of like his own security policies that I helped him write, if I could like make his insurer charge him more money or something on some sort of validate, like literally
that kind of like automation on a system.
Plug the IT help ticket in such a way that it charges him more money, then
Right.
there would actually be an incentive to like stop doing dumb bullshit and putting data and systems at risk. There's value there, but that value is intrinsically tied to, well, who is this useful for, right? And if you do build up a user base that is all centered around something, maybe if you have a cryptocurrency that's popular inside a particular nation, well, then the groups that threaten the security of the cryptocurrency, so like let's say crypto takes off in China, I mean more than it already did, but let's say there appears this crazy second economy in China where people are transacting with Bitcoin or with a cryptocurrency for everything. Well, now the Chinese government, which has enormous resources, might very well try to become the biggest computing power shareholder in that system. So
really quickly, I want to answer that point. But before I do, I just want to point out to everyone. So this is a jump-in show. What we're doing right now, anyone can request to jump in. I just saw a bunch of names pop up. If you're watching, ask any crypto questions, bring up any crypto project, or come on and talk about whatever you want to talk about, or comment any of your questions and we'll discuss them. So in terms of that, especially that, for example, the Chinese analogy and computational risk and things like that, when we discuss threat models against crypto, right? And for example, for every user base that crypto helps, we're saying that helping someone has to hurt someone else. So we say that creating a secondary market in China incentivizes the people that were profiting from the inefficiency of the market to then attack this new efficient system. The point of creating crypto systems is that we de-incentivize bad actors to be able to do that. And that might not necessarily be just a computational arms race, right? So, for example, Bitcoin is a computational arms race. Right now, there isn't a nation on Earth that can have enough computational power to attack the Bitcoin blockchain because of the amount of people that are bought in. That's not necessarily true for some of the smaller chains.
And it's also true. Sorry, it's also true that in the case of like, well, what system already exists? It's fiat currency, which in that particular case of Chinese citizens with the Chinese government, well, if they're using yuan right now, then their currency is already controlled by the Chinese government by definition.
Right.
So even if it's like possible but expensive, I guess that's still a security improvement, even if it's not 100% safe. And you see that in certain nations. You have hyperinflation shocks like Venezuela, Zimbabwe. So it sucks to be those people.
So one of the interesting things that actually this kind of leads to was some stuff that I was reading about, like India and Japan. And those countries are wanting to introduce their own cryptocurrencies, right? So like the Indian cryptocurrency, which is actually in a way fiat currency, but it's a cryptocurrency. So it's not issued by banks, but rather peer-to-peer, just controlled by the Indian government. Same thing with the Japanese. And the benefit in those cases to kind of create a cryptocurrency system would be that you can then have banking for everyone that isn't just through like institutional banks. You can have peer-to-peer banking.
And you also solve like shock problems. Like I don't remember the context of this, but I remember, I think in 2016 at some point, if you were Indian, you wanted to withdraw cash, you were limited to how much money you could withdraw as an attempt to make sure that the banks were liquid enough to continue working. There's anytime there's political instability, there's risk of a shock like that. I know personally, my family members in Ukraine, when the conflict kicked off there, suddenly their access to their Ukrainian bank accounts was limited because you had this problem. Well, okay, you're the national government, you're printing money, you have to import things, which means letting currency go out of your country, and that causes other problems.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing is like holding international currency. There's plenty of places where that's illegal, where you can't have US dollars in your pocket or in your bank account, because it causes that sort of conflict of interest. So at least from a certain perspective, being able to transact value without transacting like a token object of which there is a finite and maybe limited like gold, or maybe not so limited like fiat currency. If you can skip that step technologically, I don't know if you necessarily would avoid those problems, but even if you like just discover a new kind of problem, that's still progress.
Discovering new problems. I think that you basically just outlined the entirety of computer science there. Like discovering new kinds of problems.
We migrated from, like in Roman times, people would melt down silver coins and then make them again, make like bootleg coins with a little bit less silver in them and pocket the difference. And then you have the problem with counterfeit currency today with, so if you can move it forward, again, as long as the system is better enough to justify the costs of switching systems, you're good.
For everyone that's joining us, I see a bunch of names popping up again. This is a jump-in show, so if you have any crypto projects or you want to talk about crypto communism or any kind of, anything blockchain related, ask any beginner blockchain questions, anything else like that, go ahead and click request to join on the bottom. Right now we're talking about, creating new problems as a feature of civilization, right? And I think Kelvin asked the question, where do we see all of this going? And I think that is the most apt answer. We just create new kinds of problems. Can we say that's a point of society? Is just to create new types of problems? You solve one thing and there's always something else to solve.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. And I mean, honestly, a problem of trust, like a formal problem of trust, for me personally, I would much rather have like a mathematical trust problem than like a political trust problem. A political trust problem, especially for a computer dude, is very, very scary, right? It's like, well, all right, these people say they want to do things a certain way. Do I take their word for it? How much can I trust them? What are the costs of, not doing that? So being able to move forward, basically, the fewer steps in between like intention to do something in the real world and actually doing it, I think that's the end goal, where you don't have to worry about the friction caused in these intermediate steps of, let's say, making a transaction. I mean, going back
So
to
let me ask you this, Alexander. You seem like a smart guy. How did you get into blockchain? What got you in?
I wouldn't say that I'm in. I follow crypto.
You're not in. You're not bought. You don't think blockchain is the way to go.
I guess I see the advantages. And although I don't like have a formal crypto education, I'm familiar enough with it that it like doesn't. I'm sure you've seen that joke about the guy in New York City selling Chuck E. Cheese tokens as Bitcoin. I'm not in that boat, and I think honestly the average fucking person is. They're that's where they are. They're, this is magic internet wizard money.
Hannah, I see that question. Would you like to hop on and ask that on air? I'm going to see if I can get Hannah to ask that. I'll catch you later, Alex. Let me see if I can request you. That's an excellent question. Let's talk about that. How to get started in crypto. Come on. All right. Kelvin, do you want to come on and ask the same question? There we go. Hannah came in. Don't be camera shy. If you want, you can wear a giant banana suit. It makes it better. Hey, Hannah, how are you?
Hey, good.
So you're Dev, but your name isn't Dev. My name is Dev.
I thought that was funny.
I thought oh man, I get slapped every day in my life for making that joke. But yes, please ask your question.
Yeah, so I asked, if you're a developer, but you're not in the cryptocurrency space, how do you get started on contributing?
Well, I think before you start contributing, the first question should always be, how do you start learning, right? How do you fall in that rabbit hole? For me, that began 5 years ago. Well, let me turn this around a little bit. How did you hear about cryptocurrencies, and to what point did you jump in?
I don't know. I heard about cryptocurrency back in early days, like before 2010, but I was so young at the time, I didn't really jump in. I just knew how like basic encryption and cryptocurrency worked, like prime numbers. I didn't really start participating, and I'm not really a participant now. I just have a small amount of cryptocurrency, like in the popular coins.
But it's not
And I read,
just about owning cryptocurrency, right? Like participating in a community isn't just about owning part of it, right? Like I can still be a Mongo developer if I don't own Mongo stock. Like that, you can work in it, you can develop on it, you can learn about it, you can go to meetups and things like that. So
yeah.
Did you get interested in any of that? Did you like wanted to do any of that?
So I read a little bit about it. I read the script publication, the paper they wrote on that algorithm. I've watched a bit of videos on proof of stake, proof of work, comparing the good, the bad. I can't say I know A lot. That's why I said, how do I get started? How do I jump into this space? Like, what's the best thing I could contribute in without ruining everything and writing spaghetti code?
So I have some very scary things to tell you. Most of the people working on like Ethereum stuff, like DApp level stuff that raise hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, if you look at a lot of that code, that's a lot of spaghetti code. Because it's a lot of people without a lot of good security practices that are just writing dApps and churning out code that really shouldn't be production ready, but it is, or they're deploying it anyway. In terms of how do you get started, my favorite way to do anything or learn any new thing is to go to a hackathon, right? Take a weekend and make a dApp, right? A dApp, for those of you just watching and don't know what it is, distributed application. It's an application built onto a smart contract framework like Ethereum, Quantum, whatever else you might be using. So my favorite way, that's how I learn, is just to take a weekend and build something and play around with it. And as you get into it, you'll ask more questions. So for me, I got into blockchain 2014, 2013. And it was an English paper, actually. It was an English research paper. We could pick any topic. And our teacher had like a list of topics that we could do, or we could pick our own. And I'm like, well, I like tech. Let's see if there's anything cool in tech out. And Bitcoin was, I think at the time, like $19, $20 a coin. Mt. Gox was still a thing. And I started looking into it, and I wrote a research paper on it. And at first I was like, this is magic internet money. In fact, I actually own a shirt that just says Magic Internet Money. On my Tinder profile, it says I work in Magic Internet Money because it is Magic Internet Money. But what we realize, the more you fall into the hole is that dollars are just magic government money. And the more you fall into the hole, the more you start reading, which, by the way, a great first start is the Bitcoin white paper, yellow paper, Bitcoin white paper. Which if you're in the crypto tech group, which I suggest everyone that's watching this feed join, we'll be doing, we're doing Crypto Tech Book Club, which is we do white papers. This week's white paper, we're just starting it out, is the Bitcoin white paper. It's a great way to get started in this. If you don't know anything about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies whatsoever, that's the original document that started it all. It's like 4 pages long. Very accessible. It's written so like a 10th grader could read it. Talks about basic game theory, things like that. And we'll be discussing it next week. And we'll be talking about, Kelvin will be leading that discussion about basic incentivization schemes, proof of work, and what that means, and what actually a blockchain is. But I would say that's the best place to start, is read that original 4-page Bitcoin white paper. Kelvin and I like to joke about this, but most of the things we do, is at night read white papers, and we learn about the concepts like game theory and whatever right before bed. And because of all this crypto stuff, that's just how we learn. So that would be my suggestion: read white papers; they're super interesting, and then go to conferences and hackathons. My biggest start in blockchain happened like a year and a half ago when I wanted distributed trade in St. Louis. And I had a novel idea for an identity solution, and my team and I won 20 grand, and we built a company out of that, which is now in Canada. And then just basically try out different ideas, do whatever, build things. That's the TLDR.
So yeah. I'll see you at the hackathon in Denver in
February. ETH Denver. So let me give a shout out to ETH Denver. If any of you are interested in going to a hackathon, that's happening soon in February, ETH Denver will be happening. I will be there. I don't know if I'm presenting, working on something, or I'll be a sponsor yet. But I'll be there for like 2 weeks because the Quantum guys is also there. Quantum is one of the companies I work with a lot. So I'll be there for like 2 weeks doing blockchain stuff. So I will be at Denver. If you are looking for a blockchain hackathon to go to anytime soon, I highly suggest at Denver. And you can check that out at etdenver.com.
Be on my team. Help me win.
I might mentor, and I go around and helping many teams win. I'll see you there. All right. Thanks for joining us, Hannah.
Thanks.
All right. For those of you just watching and joining in, this is a jump-in show. So the idea is basically any crypto question you have, your burning crypto questions about what is Bitcoin, or anything from what is gas on Ethereum, or you want to talk about your favorite crypto project, feel free to go ahead and click that request to join button and ask those questions. I would love to have you on air asking those questions. We can answer them for not just you, but everyone else. Please, please, please come on in. So yeah, just waiting on people. Anyone, let me see if I can go and answer some questions here. We had someone way back ask about talking about Litecoin. I'm actually not a big fan of Litecoin. And that's not because the tech is bad. I don't think the tech of Litecoin is bad. It's just I don't think it does anything innovative, except for just being a basically live testnet for Bitcoin. And that's kind of a little of a controversial opinion because a lot of people have made a lot of money off of Litecoin. And so they don't like when people say Litecoin isn't hot shit. But I don't know. There isn't anything interesting that they're doing apart from just being a testnet for Bitcoin. Let's see what other questions we got here. Again, this is a jump-in show. So if you have any crypto questions, you want to talk about your favorite crypto projects, or talk about how you got into crypto. Actually, I would love to hear your stories. What brings you into this crazy world of cryptocurrencies? All you have to do is hit that request to join button on the bottom. We'll be running this for another, I think, half an hour. So if you want to talk on air about anything, let me know. Ask your questions. Hit that request to join button. Let's see. CryptoKitties was a fun topic to bring up. You have any other questions? Anyone have any burning questions you want to ask that I can answer for you? Otherwise, I'll play with some effects here. Let me see. There we go. This is my first time doing this. This was an idea that I got from Lamar, and so Lamar did this I think last week, and it was this kind of impromptu jump-in show, which I really, really liked, and I started commenting on it, so I wanted to do it. Basically, answering any questions about crypto that you have, and talking about different crypto concepts. I guess we can talk about trading if that's a thing that people enjoy. Personally, I like the tech more, but I know sometimes that goes over people's heads a little bit. I think it's funny going through the comments. Some of these comments have my helmet on top of them, the blockchain helmet. For those of you that don't know, if you are on my Facebook page, you'll see plenty of pictures with me in a spacesuit. That is because I go to hackathons in a giant spacesuit, and I sometimes sponsor them and give out prizes for blockchain hacks because of the old joke, Bitcoin to the moon. But that's part of the Blockchain Education Network, my work with the Blockchain Education Network. That's a global nonprofit. You can check us out at facebook.com/blockchainedu. It's a nonprofit dedicated to basically teaching our main audience is university students, but reaching out to corporations and things like that, and talking about ways, basically talking about the blockchain tech, how to get involved, encouraging students to do that. So like, for example, a year ago, we did an airdrop in Chicago, and all across the world, we're doing airdrops again now, where we gave away like $5 worth of Bitcoin to all the students that came and talked to us. And now I get those messages back where people are like, oh, now it's worth $200, et cetera, which like makes me really happy. We got someone who wants to join. Hello, Kevin. Hey, Rohan, I see you watching. All right, we're adding Kevin on. But yeah, so that's the Blockchain Education Network. We do a lot of fun work. For those of you that are joining us, this is a jump-in show. So if you have anything to talk about crypto, you want to ask any questions, nothing is off the table here. So like, again, even if your question is as simple as what is Bitcoin, go ahead and click that request to join. We'll add you in, and you can ask your questions. We're adding in Kevin right now. And I have a feeling Kevin will be asking us some mining questions. It seemed like Kevin dropped out. It didn't work. Kevin, if you want to go ahead and request to join again, we can try that again. There we go. You might have to turn your camera. Not sure. Peter, how much do I know about consensus algorithms? Well, which consensus algorithms would you like to talk about? There are a lot of different ones, right? Which is actually one of the main innovations of blockchain technology is the whole idea of how do we approach consensus in a distributed peer-to-peer voluntary network. That's the whole point of consensus algorithms, and that's the whole point of blockchain. But there are a lot of different ones. So are there any specific ones you want to talk about and how they differ and things like that? All right, I think Kevin's having a little difficulty coming in. Kevin, maybe try turning your camera sideways. When we were on last week when we were doing Facebook Live, it would only work if you had your phone in landscape mode. Some people have been working now with regular portrait mode, but you might have to turn your phone. I'm not sure, but try that. Oop, connection failed again. Feel free to try again, Kevin. Try maybe turning your camera. It might be that your internet's not good enough. I'm not sure. But please go ahead and try again. For those of you that are just tuning in, this is a jump-in show. We'll be answering blockchain, cryptocurrency questions, anything from what is Bitcoin to any technical kind of discussions you want to have. All you have to do is hit that request to join button on the bottom, and you can be on air and talk about whatever blockchain things you want. How are they? Peter, do you want to come on and ask questions about Hashgraph? Because I have a lot to say about Hashgraph. We're going to try Kevin again one more time. Come on, Kevin. Come on, Kevin. I'm rooting for you, buddy. See. Still trying to get Kevin in. I'm wondering why it's not working for Kevin. All right, while we wait for Kevin, let's talk about Hashgraph. All right, so Hashgraph is a very interesting project. Give me 1 second. I need to mute this real quick. Otherwise, it'll keep making the noises on my phone. Hashgraph is a project that's trying to do things like Polkadot or any of those multi-chain projects, which is that you have one big chain, and within the chain you have chains and chains. And their consensus model is a gossip protocol. And what that means is instead of like a full ledger-like thing, one node sends a no worries, Kevin. Feel free to try again. Anyone else that wants to jump in, feel free to request to join, and I'll add you. But basically, Hashgraph's consensus algorithm is a gossip protocol, which isn't necessarily unique. We have seen other gossip protocols being used as consensus protocols. Hashgraph kind of tries to say that they're the best and that they're fastest. And all of those are qualified statements, right? It's all about trade-offs. So Hashgraph makes certain trade-offs that other people don't necessarily do. For example, like BFT consensus and things like that. They don't need as many nodes in a BFT consensus because they do X, Y, Z thing. There are a lot of people that after they hear the Hashgraph pitch are like all gung-ho about it. But if you like read their like bigger white paper, I forget what their company is called. This Hashgraph is their product. Peter, do you know what the bigger company is called? Swirlds. That's what they're calling the bigger thing. But the key paper that I want people to read if you're reading about Hashgraph is that Hashgraph and Sybil attacks. Sybil attacks are like, well, what do you have? Many identities or many people with or a bad actor making as many identities as possible, and it's kind of a misleading white paper that they have uploaded, which is the Swirls and Sybil attacks, because like it starts with how the Sybil attacks things work, but then it goes into like how the whole Swirls platform works, which if you look at it, they don't actually talk about how a proof of stake or proof of work system would work that's actually different or unique than anything else. Nothing they talk about in that paper is something that gets me excited, right? It's a lot of promises, and it doesn't have any direct relationship to their consensus gossip protocol. So that was the page that that Swirls and Sybil Attacks like white paper was what like totally turned me away from them. And I highly suggest people to check that one out specifically. Their other papers are fine. They talk about gossip protocols as consensus mechanisms, etc. But I personally don't like the amount of hype that is around them as being like the blockchain solution. Every blockchain solution has their own core group of like fanboys that are like, oh, this is awesome. Cardano, oh my lord, the Cardano fanboys, and things like that. So people, for example, treat Bitcoin like a religion. This is kind of a tangent from the Hashcraft thing, but people treat Bitcoin like a religion almost, because I see people quoting the Satoshi's emails. They're like, Satoshi would have wanted this or Satoshi would have wanted that. And that's I really don't like that is reminiscent with the rest of the blockchain world, and that all these other cryptocurrencies have almost like a messiah complex where they treat their developers like almost gods. I don't think that's good at all. For anyone that's just joining us, this is a jump-in show, so if you have any questions about cryptocurrencies, feel free to go ahead and click that request to join button, and we'll get you on air. We'll answer any questions you have. We'll talk about your favorite crypto projects, anything else like that. We keep trying to get Kevin in, but I think Kevin's phone is being a little wonky, so he's not able to join in. If anyone else wants to join in, again, hit that request to join button. You might have to turn your phone sideways. I'm not sure, but go ahead and hit request to join. Let me see if I can. Peter, let's invite you. Let's see if we can get you in. Oh, it won't. You're actually someone that won't let me get in. But if anyone wants to jump in and talk about anything, I think Peter's going to switch to his phone. Go ahead and hit that request to join. We're talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain, anything else. A little bit about my background. So I'm Dev. Obviously, if you're on this, you know my name. I'm a blockchain consultant in Chicago. I've been working in the blockchain space for like maybe 4.5 years now. 4.5 years, I think, is a apt amount of time. So I have I have clients in Chicago and developer clients and consultation clients, etc. But I also do a lot of work with the Blockchain Education Network, and a lot of my work deals around education. So educating as many people as I can about blockchain technology, what's so cool about it, why they should care about it, things like that. So that's why I want to invite people to ask their questions. I know everyone has questions. There are a lot, I go home for Christmas and New Year's, and all my family have questions and everything else like that. And I want to do this kind of like a regular live stream where people can hop on and ask any question they want. Rohan, I've had some trouble understanding what a ZK snark does. Could you dive a bit into the purpose it serves and why it is important and how to leverage it? So a ZK snark, or zero knowledge proof, that's what Rohan's talking about, is something that is implemented in certain privacy coins like Zcash, and now being implemented in Ethereum. So a zero knowledge proof is very, 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 very cool. Zero knowledge proofs are not a blockchain concept, right? This is a mathematical thing that was, we'll get Peter in here. Let me hit add. While we're getting Peter in here, let me keep talking about ZK snarks. This is a crypto. Hey, Peter. We're talking about ZK snarks. How you doing? Covering that real quick. But ZK snarks have been around since like I think 60s, 70s. They're an old cryptography, not cryptocurrency, but like an old, old world crypto thing. And basically, it's this idea of being able to prove something, right, without actually revealing information about it. So the easy way to explain this is well, on my ID, it has my date of birth, right? Say you and I are going to a bar, and I say that I'm 21. There's two ways of me to prove it to you. I can either show you my ID, right? Which is like, yes, okay, my ID says I'm 21, so I'm 21. Or you see the bouncer check my ID and let me in, and you can trust that I'm 21 because the bouncer let me in. That's a little simplified, and the actual crypto people are going to yell at me in the chat, but for these purposes, it's fine. It's basically that I can prove to you something without actually revealing any information about it, and that's the easiest way that I can explain ZK Snarks. Now, in terms of how they're actually implemented on the cryptocurrency level, that is like a 2-3 hour conversation and a rabbit hole that you I don't necessarily want to jump into right now. All right, Peter, what's up?
All right. Well, I don't have any other questions at the moment, but we were talking about Hashgraph, proof of stake. I know I put a few other links there. I wouldn't really want to give publicity to Lunir because their white paper is pretty bad. I just want to share that one with you because of how bad that white paper is. Oof. Because reading through a lot of them, like I have to thank Yev for that too. He's actually watching now. I have to shout out for him for all the stuff. Like the reading is really, really good. I think Bitcoin started that trend with white papers that in order to spread different types of information around.
White paper has become the new slide deck, which
basically.
Whether you like it or not is up to you. I personally like reading a white paper better than looking at a 12-page slide deck or anything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
I see some people joining us really quickly. This is a jump-in show. We're answering any and all questions you have about cryptocurrencies, blockchains, anything else like that. Feel free to click request to join or ask your questions in the comment, and we'll get to them. Go ahead, Peter. Start us off with the Hashgraph and proof of stake.
Oh, want me to start off with Hashgraph and proof of stake?
Yeah, you brought up Hashgraph. What got you into Hashgraph?
I wouldn't call myself the expert here, but
but what are you curious about? What are you interested in?
I'm more interested so we discussed a little bit of consensus because one of the biggest things I'm trying to learn more about is how different types of proof of work, in terms of because there's other ones where it's just mining speeds, but those let's see, we have for basic Bitcoin, we just have the simple proof of work or just guessing a hash number. I was wondering what other things exist out there. I know we mentioned Hashgraph's consensus, but what other proof of work can be done? I know a little bit about Filecoins. I haven't gone through there into too much depth about the two different kinds of proof of work they have for proving that one.
Right,
I don't know how much you know about
what kind of consensus protocols are there? So first, Bitcoin started us off with proof of work. Proof of work is a computation system. Now, within proof of work, there are a billion different, algorithms to do that. Bitcoin uses SHA-256. Ethereum uses Ethash and Dagger Hashimoto, and things like that. And there are a lot of differences even between those. But all of the things under proof of work basically come down to using your computer to solve math problems and finding, whatever x equals to, and that is your answer, and whoever finds the answer gets a reward. That's proof of work. You're proving that you're working by expending computational resources. Then we have things like proof of stake. Proof of stake is a very big up-and-coming technologic trend that we're seeing cryptocurrencies allow for. Peercoin and so on do that. My favorite one is Quantum. I highly suggest Jordan Earl's description, blog post, whatever you want to call it, deep diving into proof of stake. It's very, very well written. I highly suggest it. But proof of stake basically deals with the idea of instead of expending computational resources, you're staking your reputation. Well, not your reputation, but you're staking your money. So what you're saying is, I'm going to put, say, 100 coins in the pot, and then I'm going to verify transactions. And if it turns out that any of the transactions that I verified were fraudulent, then I lose my stake. I lose my 100 coins. So there's an incentive for me not to make fraudulent transactions, because that could mean that I lose my bigger stake. That's what proof of stake is. Back in the old days, there used to be proof of burn. Another popular one is proof of authority. There's some other kind of niche ones like proof of life. That's an There are a lot of like different niche ones, but the two big ones are basically proof of work and proof of stake. And within those, there's different ways to approach consensus protocols. Peter dropped out there. For anyone that's watching, if you have any cryptocurrency questions or any blockchain questions, go ahead and click request to join. We'd love to have you talk about any questions you got. Let's see, we got a huge comment by Alexander. Ooh, let's switch that around. For anyone that's just joining us, we're talking about again, anything Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and whatever questions you got, anything from what is Bitcoin to how am I going to deal with my blockchain taxes, to anything else like that. You're just getting into the space. You have no idea what any of this is, but you're seeing it on the news. Feel free to hop in, click that request to join button, and ask your questions. We'll do everything from simple questions to technical deep dives. And I think we'll be on for like another, probably 10, 20 minutes. So we'll take like maybe 2 more people. And then depending on how that went, we'll maybe do another one in 1 or 2 weeks. Again, if you're watching, all you got to do is hit that request to join button and ask your questions. Let's see. Alex, so ZK Snarks could be used as a tool to balance transparency and security concerns for taxes. IRS could get tax income based on a trusted employer's report of your income without needing to keep your social security number and home address on their database. Yeah, so one of the things is, oh Lord, we'll get to that question in a little bit. But so in terms of hiding your asset value using ZK Snarks, that's kind of an interesting question. Again, you don't necessarily need ZK Snarks to do that. There would be a good way to do that, yeah. You could submit information or prove that your assets are worth this without disclosing any specifics about the assets or things like that. Another interesting thing about ZK Snarks that I saw in a research paper or a research presentation was zero knowledge skill transfer. So we're talking about zero knowledge proofs with knowledge, but like zero, I don't know how to say it, zero knowledge skill transfer, or being able to do a job, which is like, can you do a job and without showing me that you did it, be able to prove that you did it, and I can give you your money without actually going through it. But that kind of weirdness builds on top of zero knowledge proofs. Sarah, how much is the equivalent value for NCHS Assassin's entry worth currently? I think that was, I don't even remember how much we charge. So this is a 4 or 5 year old question. This is me in high school running high school Assassins question. I don't even remember how much the entry was. But it's probably worth like a portion of a cryptocurrency, whatever cryptocurrency we pick. Ali, how do you explain the difference between cryptocurrency and a token? Well, so really, I think everything is a token, right? All blockchains really are tokens. What we really make the difference between are things like ERC20 tokens and protocol tokens. So when you mean cryptocurrency, what you're really talking about is those protocol tokens, which are like Bitcoin, Ethereum. These are native level tokens. What that means is they require hardware. They require either miners or nodes or some sort of infrastructure behind them to power them. Versus ERC20 tokens. I don't want to just say ERC20 tokens because there are other smart contract platforms. For example, you can have tokens on top of Quantum, and those wouldn't be called ERC20 because ERC is a Ethereum specific term. And those tokens piggyback off of Ethereum's infrastructure. In terms of what's the difference, Joseph, you are insane. Cryptocurrency is insane, man. There's a 750 billion market cap. That's insane. That shouldn't be a thing. But we live in insane times. But yeah, so that basically covers the difference between protocol level tokens, Ali, and what we consider on-chain tokens. Yeah, exactly right, Alexander. So this idea of could have done a job, or having done a job without showing that you did a job. For example, this is the best way to explain it. Is what if I pay you to solve a jigsaw puzzle? If you show me that you have solved it, then I don't need to pay you, because then I know the answer to the jigsaw puzzle already. But is there a way for you to show me that you have solved this mathematical problem or this jigsaw puzzle, etc., without showing me the solution? That is a zero knowledge proof. And that way I can pay you for having done the job without you actually having to show that the solution to the job, but you can prove that you did it. And that's the whole point of like the zero knowledge proof idea. Ali, you were reading an article where they were stressing that Ether was a token and Bitcoin was a cryptocurrency. I don't know what article you were reading, but both Bitcoin and Ether are tokens. They're tokens for their respective platforms. Bitcoin's platform is just called Bitcoin. It's actually called Bitcoin Core, but whatever. And Ether's platform is Ethereum. They're both tokens. They're both just native tokens. Yeah. For those of you that are just joining us, this is a jump-in show for cryptocurrencies. So any questions you have about Bitcoin, Ethereum, any cryptocurrency blockchain questions, you can ask in the comments or hit that request to join button and join me on air and have a chat with me about your crypto questions. Ask anything you want, et cetera, et cetera. I think we'll be on for like maybe another 10 minutes. So any questions you got, if you want to join me, now's the time. We're trying to get, I think, I want to wrap this up by like 8:50. I've been talking for, I think, 2 hours now, which is insane. But again, for those of you that are just joining us, this is a cryptocurrency live stream. Any questions you have about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, from the simplest question to the technical deep dives, feel free to hit that request to join button, join me on air and ask those questions, or ask them in the comments and we'll talk about them. That's what I do all day, every day. And we might be doing more of these in the future. I know I want to do a plasma deep dive with Kelvin later on. We might be if you are interested in cryptocurrencies at all, we also have a Facebook group called Crypto Tech, in which we'll be doing kind of like a weekly white paper review and things like that, where we'll be discussing white papers. For example, this week's white paper is the Bitcoin white paper, which I highly suggest people reading. And then we'll discuss it next week. And we'll be covering other white papers for other cool cryptocurrencies later on. Again, I see a bunch of names popping up. If you're just joining us, this is a live stream about cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, whatever your heart desires, crypto communism, how do I pay my house worker in cryptocurrency? How do I buy a coffee? What is the point of all of this, etc.? Please go ahead and ask us. That accidentally paused. Ali, is the Ben network still up and running? So Ben, for those of you guys that don't know, is the Blockchain Education Network. We actually have a lot of very exciting news to announce about Ben. We just closed a big funding round. Actually, we haven't closed it. It's still going, but we're going to be closing it soon, and we're going to be announcing something really cool that I actually helped devise called the ENS system. It's based off the ENS system for Ethereum, and it'll be an identity system for Blockchain Education Network that we'll be rolling on to move that entire group infrastructure onto the blockchain. So it's like a non-monetary kind of use case for blockchain. It'll be a really big thing. But yeah, so, and with that is a huge level of migration that's going on, including our website and things like that. So a lot of that is coming up very soon. So keep an eye out for some very exciting blockchain stuff that the Blockchain Education Network will be doing. We've been kind of quiet last year. We're just kind of getting our bearings and everything. But we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next month and a half. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Okay. I think we'll do the last round of questions. If anyone has any questions, otherwise I think I'm going to call it a night. Go ahead and ask your questions in the comments or hit that request to join button. Let's see if there were any other questions in these comments. I don't think so. All right, guys. I hope you all learned something. I hope your questions were answered. Any blockchains to go in all on? Yes. So actually, we have DevCoin just launched. It'll give you 1 billion% return, guaranteed. All you have to do is send all of your money to devbarail.eth. It's my Ethereum address, and I promise 1 billion% return on your money. This is definitely not a joke. This is a cryptocurrency just launched, and you can trade it, and it's called DevCoins, and it'll be great. It'll be great, and I promise I will not run away to Canada with your money. No way. Yeah. I'm glad your presentation went well, Ali. Ali works for Stellar, which is a really cool blockchain project that I heavily advocate. They're an amazing team doing amazing work. Which you know what? When we do another one of these live streams, we might just talk about Stellar because Stellar is awesome. Invest in Bitcoin now. So invest in whatever you want to invest in. I'm not a financial advisor, but I will say blockchain is a very cool technology, and I'm invested in from the tech side. From the financial side, all the cryptocurrencies that all the crypto assets that I own, I wanted either hackathons or I get paid for my services in cryptocurrency. So the number one way that I get Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else like that is actually all my clients paying me in cryptocurrency. So I can't really tell you what to invest in or not to invest in, just because I'm not a financial advisor and I don't want to be on the hook for you losing your money. But the biggest advice I can give you, do your research. Don't buy into the hype. Look at the developers. Look at if there's a code base. Look at the number of nodes and things like that. Do your research, right? Don't just throw money at random things. The technology is here to stay, whether any given project fails or succeeds. And so I'm really excited about the future. But yeah, any last comments, concerns, personal stories, dilemmas, anything you're struggling with in your life? Go ahead and throw those on. Yeah. All right. Hopefully that was helpful and everybody learned something. And I'll see you guys next time when we do this. And if you like this, go ahead and like it. That way I can show that off and be like, hey, we did a really cool live stream. Oh, we have more questions. I guess I'm not going off air. People still want me talking. When you buy cryptocurrency, where exactly does it go? Where is it going towards, if that makes sense? Matt, it does not make sense. Do you want to hop on air and ask that question in a little bit more descriptive manner? All you got to do is hit that request the join button. It's right on the bottom there. Got an email from Comcast. They want to talk about blockchain. That's interesting. But yeah, Matt, go ahead and hit that request to join button on the bottom and ask that question. Because I feel like that's going to be a bigger question than just where exactly money goes when you buy cryptocurrency. All you have to do down below, it says request to join. It's a little green icon. Go ahead and click that, and we'll talk about that. If you have an authority that has privileged access, how does a member of the public know which people's report of things to trust? So Alex's question was, if you have an authority that has privileged access, how does a member of the public know which people's report of things to trust? Alex, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking with that question. Can you clarify a little bit more? Yeah. Matt, the short form answer is you're not buying a physical asset. What you're buying is a ledger entry. There is no such thing as a Bitcoin in terms of like value in an asset. What a Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency is a ledger entry, which is saying that this person sold this person X value. So when you buy $10, $20 worth of Bitcoin, what it's really saying is that person sold you that amount of Bitcoin in an entry. And then when you spend that Bitcoin, you're not actually spending a token. You're spending that previous ledger entry. And that gets a little bit confusing, but again, it's a longer form answer. If you want to ask that, feel free to hit that request to join and we'll talk about it. But that's probably going to be like a 5-minute answer. Okay. I'm getting really thirsty. Let me see if there's any more water. There is more water. All right. I think I'm going to call it a night just because I think my jaw is just aching from talking for 2 hours. Thank you guys for tuning in, asking questions. If you have any more, go ahead and keep commenting on this. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can later tonight. Or we'll do another one of these live streams, a little bit later, and we'll get to them then. Anyway, thank you. Good night. Yeah, bye-bye.